This is Calcat the Calcatster. Yes, I had to remove and re-upload after repairs to those 3 episodes of Starship Locations. I had rushed them to production on this channel, and should have waited until after the Disneyland trip and looked them over for errors in the titles, mainly in the titles. The zombie one has been retitled to make it make more sense. Just the Phoenix and the androids doesn't make sense. Phoenix and the zombies makes more sense. So it's kind of back to what it was before. There were some minor issues concerning bylines. Mark's cards advised during the Disneyland trip that you give the bylines to people that actually, even if they didn't contribute to the story, give them a byline somehow in there. So, but if they don't want a contribution, then you have to put a disclaimer up saying they don't. So the story about the Bradys has a lot of elements. Not a lot. Some elements, about a third of it. Well, that's a lot, I guess. References a Will Wheaton internet podcast. It's not Ready Room, where he was discussing his first meeting with Captain Kirk. It becomes a hot button issue in that podcast. It wasn't Ready Room. He didn't really talk about stuff like that on Ready Room. This is like before that. It's before he was in cast. It was before even really 2016 on the other Star Trek. It's very old. It wasn't from the conventions. It wasn't current. Mark's cards. I didn't make that clear to him, but it wasn't current. But still, there's enough of his podcast in there that if he did complain, put an inspirational name on there. Inspired by. It doesn't have to be written by, because obviously he had nothing to do with writing it. Like in the case of the, it's not like in the case of the Fallen Ones Planet story, in which it was. I gave Mr. Colavito credit, Jason Colavito, because I felt I should, because the story was. Back in 2023. The story was from his podcast and blog. I thought I should put his name there because then he could get mad and go, wait a minute, that's from my blog comments. But then he PM'd at the time and said, you don't need to put my name on there. I don't know who you are. I know that you're the guy who posts on my blog, but you don't need that. So took that off. But the episodes aired as is with a inspired by byline anyway on those, but not in the books. The books, he said, you don't need to worry about that. You're not obviously not. Yeah, we're not collaborating. Yeah, because I don't know you. Good enough. So Will Wheaton, he did not say anything, but I thought that it might be prudent to mention that the guy who played Mr. Crusher, the character story. So in the credits, to change the credits, so it says. Inspired by the story of don't meet your heroes story, which he hinted at the convention last year. He hinted at an update during the convention. Shatner was down the hall. It wasn't in the convention at the time, but not last year. It should have been credit. The other one was a minor disclaimer at the beginning, and the other one, and the third one was a minor disclaimer and the title. So I should have just waited on those 3, but I felt like I shouldn't. All the Star Trek news broke at the convention while we were gone to Disneyland. Although there is a Star Trek Scouts, apparently a preschool age show, and a Lego set, I'm going to dispel the other rumor. That's why I'm here too as well. Update real quick. Star Trek 4, Star Trek 14. Collider allegedly interviewed Zachary Quinto, and similar to the Simon Pegg thing 2 years ago about Orville, similar to that, he said, I would like to return as Spock in Abrams' movie. He did not say, I am returning and I've signed a contract. He said, I would like to return. Also Pine said he'd like to return. Saldana, not so much. Collider and and Nerdist and the trades are running with this story from hearsay. They've had 3 or 4 different directors, or ideas for directors, I should say, not directors. They didn't get that far. They've had 4 scripts over the years, in the past 9 years. They've had, at least 8 possible directors. They've had a director every year. They keep running with that old Hemsworth story. They're going to pull Hemsworth out of there. That was after the 3rd one. That was a year late. That's really old information, that Hemsworth thing. They're going to somehow bring him back with time travel or something. That's like 2016. Saldana is actually too famous and actually said in her interview, "I'm too old." So they can't play that character anymore. Which is funny. Gray hair and everything. That's not going to work. They could dye that, but still. She's not too old, but she said she was. Chris Pine wasn't sure. And Zachary Quinto, the rest of his article which is taken out of context on Collider, Zachary, who played Spock in the Abrams movies, essentially said he talked to J.J. Abrams. That does not mean that they finalized a movie deal. That means he called up J.J. Abrams and talked to him. That's not a deal. They're already giving it a name, Star Trek New Horizons. They're stealing it from a video game from 2020 or so. That's a video game. They're not going to name it that. Just like they're not going to name Star Trek Legacy, because there's a video game. They have to get the rights to that early 2000s video game. They've apparently dropped the origin story idea for my suggestion. I was in Hollywood. But we'll see what's going on with the rest of it. But I was at Disney, so I wasn't at Paramount at all. I didn't go down there and pitch this time. I didn't see a crazy man trying to pitch on the lawn at the Paramount gates like in 2015. I did see a lot of stuff that looked like GTA 5, though. That was kind of cool. Some of those buildings are still there. We were all, the GTA 5 building, GTA 5 building. The building that plays the Maze Bank looks different. The facade's different. Anyway, but the other stuff is very similar. Capitol and all that stuff. Capitol Records building and all that stuff is similar. So the freeway's the same. Fake Mount Chiliad's still the same. We were on it. We went around. We went around it on the freeway. So we were in that area. but yeah, so there's but yeah, there was so Star Trek. There's no new movie coming out. They didn't announce a new movie. It would be all over Memory Alpha if it was true. They would be saying, okay, there's a new Star Trek being licensed. The Star Trek Scouts one, the preschooler one, is. However, I can't imagine preschoolers watching Star Trek. I mean, I did when I was in preschool. That was just me. I mean, we were the whole family with Star Trek. But yes, I doubt that the target audience makes any sense. They got rid of Prodigy to go younger, apparently. I don't know how that's even going to work. And besides, they wouldn't be preschoolers if they were scouts. They would be 10. That's high school, grade schoolers, elementary school. That's what it should be. 10. 10 to 12 scouts. I was never a Boy Scout. Mark Cars was briefly a Boy Scout. Yes. Apparently sucked. Yes. So, yes, scouting sucked. So we have, a lot of rumors about Star Trek alleged New Horizons. Even trailers for a movie that isn't written yet. Those are fake clickbait trailers. There might be a game trailer, but it's not a movie. It's the game voices. Would that even be feasible to do? It's almost the same amount of 9-10 years between Star Trek, the TV original series, 1969, and Star Trek the Motion Picture. They should be encountering V'ger at this point. Psst. Are they going to do that? They're going to do a remake of the motion picture? They shouldn't. Also, the other Strange New Worlds kind of retcons the whole thing, and makes them not. Does that make them act like Academy brats? Yes. Robert Burnett said that. This is new Star Trek. He was complaining about this other thing, but he need not complain about it because it's not going to happen. This movie is not happening. They scrapped one of the origin stories, which would have been terrible. It would have been directed by the guy who did it. Fantastic Four, the new one. But that's an interesting idea. But we didn't know what he could do yet. And Andor. But no, he's too expensive. Now, as for they can't get half the cast. That's kind of a similar problem to one of them died. Anton Yelchin died in 2016. So 2015. So they can't get Zoe Saldana to come back. So it's kind of like what the Orville alleged thing, which isn't true either. They're until I actually see the trades that aren't Collider going, oh wait, now Variety ran with some of that too, but when you go to the Variety article, it actually says, we're going to quote the actual made up, the Nerdist stuff from the other article. They're quoting the other website, Trek movie site too, Trek card site, so I would know. Just from doing research, I would know, and you will too. I think it's past its time. I don't think they should do an Abrams movie. I think they should do another Star Trek film for the 60th anniversary. It should be a year from now. And they should make it be like, they should do, well, Mark Scartz and I discussed it. They should do a Next Generation centered 2400s movie with Q in it and Picard. And if they really want to do a crossover time travel thing, Strange New Worlds thing, they should. But they kind of shouldn't, because that would be kind of convoluted. Even we didn't do a Strange New Worlds crossover, partly because they don't have action figures for them. Playmates can still keep making those, though. If they want to make those, then we can do it. But that's Playmates action figures. Our fan films don't require any sort of a budget of voice acting and all that. That was another thing that had to be changed in those 3 stories that should have been run through the editing process first, and now are. Voice credits. There are no other actual real voices in it. And even though C3 people in the church inspired some of the characters, they were not voice actors in it. They don't technically need byline credits. They were just inspired by this person, inspired by this other person. So you don't need to put voice credits. It's all Calcat. All of it's Calcat. Even the alleged cameo by Mark Scartz as producer isn't Mark Scartz. No, it's somebody imitating. So that rumor is not true. Star Trek 14 or Star Trek 4, that would happen, especially not after Section 31. Which bombed and aired only on TV. I could see them doing it. Yeah, how would they even do that? Quinto and them, it just wouldn't make sense. I don't know how they would do that. It's been so long in the past that the generation that would have been interested in it, now in their 40s, would be like, I don't have time to watch this, and it'll tank. No, they have to make it for all generations. Not like the Galaxy's Edge attraction, which is quite cool, but it's still the new generation. It's not the older stuff. I can see why they did that. Maybe it's the newer generation, but still kind of wanted some of the old stuff, a little bit. That would be nice. But here's the same thing, Star Trek. In order to make Star Trek cool again, they kind of have to have cool again. Reference to an alien group from Distant Destinies. In order to make it cool, they have to, do things they're not doing, and they're not going to do that. They're taking the easy way out with, ripping off Enemy Mine and episodes, making it too dark, or doing a podcast series called Con, which they've been talking about for years. It was going to be Nick Meyer originally in 2016. That was going to be his podcast. Going to do it. Why don't you just get the audiobook Audiobooks, Con, Terrain in Hell, and the other one, SETI Alpha 5 or whatever. And watch those audio. That's all you need to do. Play the audiobooks. They're online. Just play them. You don't need a series about Con. Con is not the Joker. There was never really a central villain bad guy until the Next Generation, really, with Q, who reappeared only 7 times in 7 seasons, and then Voyager 4 times. D6-9 once. The Q. But, you know, so your next villain in the movie should be Q, and not a Wrath of Khan type of Q, but a screwy, sort of weird, they're stuck on a planet, and they have to figure a way out on a planet, which is remarkably similar to my trilogy of movies I just did. They're on a planet trying to figure a way out. That would be an interesting Star Trek movie, because it's different. Because you don't know originally who the central villain is to figure it out. You have to go on a quest on the planet. It's a quest story. It's about strange new worlds, yes, but it's more Forbidden Planet than it is the Wrath of Khan. It's more cerebral and weird, trippy things going on. You know, that's my idea from Star Trek 14. Yeah, which they did to an extent in those Discovery episodes about that 10C species they found in that season 4 there. They did my stuff, but it was like, yeah, they kind of didn't do it right. Come to think of it, all of the 32nd century stuff is very similar to Calcat, and they of course credited, you know, to speak of bylines, there was a character named Cal in there, and that's my pseudonym on the internet, of course. With a K, of course there was a Cal, of course there was, because the 32nd century is a Calcat idea. Turned around in the favor. I did Planet of the Fallen Ones in the 32nd century, when the crew was pulled into the future 600 years or so. Anyway, so yeah, current century of our fan films is 2403, and we've gone back a little bit, but said that the other universe happened in a slightly different timeline, thanks to Amanda the Q. And it isn't just Amanda, the friend from the cast. It isn't just her. She's actually playing Amanda Rogers from, they just call her Rumbly for reasons that are funny. But it's Amanda Rogers from Next Generation. Even Marcus Cards knows that. Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, so she's another Q. Yeah, of course. That's funny we're on the same wavelength. Well, the Cal Hazel, Calcat Q should get with her, he says. And then they should be bored because they're Q. You know, yep, that's exactly what I did. I think actually what happened there, though, is I told him about that scene, and he just forgot that I told him, so he reiterated it again. And he's like, oh, that's what we did. I thought that would be funny. She even saw that scene. The real person saw the scene. And yeah, that's probably what would have happened. We'd have been like nonplussed. Was this good for you as well as for me? Yeah, it's okay. Anyway, no Star Trek 4 yet. They should probably not do it. What they should do, it could be fun, because it's a new generation Zoomers like that. They should do a Lower Decks movie. They should get all the cast from Lower Decks, a live-action Lower Decks movie. That's what they should do. Set now in 2403. That's the people who go to the planet. It's a Lower Decks cast. That'd be great. Yeah. As long as at some point Tanya Newson's character says, yeah, I really didn't know Wesley and Locarno at the Academy. That's impossible. I'm like 12 years younger than Wesley. How the hell would I have known him? Impossibly. Well, 8 years younger than him, sorry. 8 years younger than him. I wouldn't have known him at the Academy. Interestingly enough, though, the guy who plays Sam Rutherford would have been aware of Wesley. At least he would have been closer to 4 years. I mean, he's been older. He's a little older. 47, not 42. But yeah, anybody that was in Wesley's class would be 51 to 60. But yeah, anybody younger than that wouldn't know. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, no Star Trek 4 New Horizons. That's a game. The trailers are fake. That couldn't possibly be a trailer if they just came up with yeah, that doesn't make sense. There's nothing on the Paramount thing either about that. If there is, it's for the game, which actually isn't about Quinto and crew, is it? It's not supposed to be. It's just there was sort of an earlier, like there were a couple of games. There was a Starfleet Commander and another one, of course, the online one. And they took footage from that and made this one and said, like, oh, it's a new game. That's just Bridge Commander. It's just Bridge Commander. Cross with a little bit of lore of the other one. Yeah, that's right. STO. Yeah. It's fake. It's fake. They don't even have a script. Why would they have a trailer if they don't have a script yet? And from what I gather of those earlier scripts, the 8 of them were floating around, they were all crap. Why can't they write a decent Star Trek movie? I mean, I've done lots of Transformers fan films and such, in some episodes, and I've done at least 10 of those legacy episodes, and probably 10 more of the other ones before that. I've done 25 episodes of my fan films, or full length, feature length, and they're awesome, all of them. A few flaws here and there. They're awesome. So yeah, I could have done it. In fact, the original Star Trek Chimera script that came out in 2019 is a 90-minute script when you see it on the page. It's a 90-minute script. But we so packed it full of member berries that it turned out to be 50 minutes, 150 minutes. And we showed the Q continuum. Anyway, so